To be completely honest, this entire debate has left a lot of basketball fans frustrated. The conversation surrounding Caitlin Clark has become far more divisive than it probably should be. Instead of celebrating the growth of women's basketball, the focus has shifted toward arguments over ratings, attendance, and who deserves the credit. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this breakdown, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. A huge percentage of viewers still haven't subscribed, and your support helps us bring you more content like this. Now, let's get back to the story. One of the loudest voices defending Caitlin Clark's impact has been Stephen A. Smith. Throughout the season, he consistently argued that Clark has transformed the visibility of women's basketball, and he hasn't backed away from that position. When questions about declining television audiences and playoff interest surfaced, Stephen A. insisted that discussing those numbers wasn't an attack on the league. It was simply acknowledging what the data appeared to show. That viewpoint, however, didn't sit well with everyone. Sue Bird questioned why ESPN personalities, such as Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe, were emphasizing declining interest in the playoffs. From her perspective, constantly focusing on negative headlines risked damaging a league that ESPN itself broadcasts. Bird argued that criticism is fair, but she struggled to understand why so much attention was being placed on narratives that could overshadow the WNBA's long-term progress. Stephen A.'s response was straightforward. He maintained that working for ESPN doesn't mean ignoring facts or avoiding difficult conversations. If ratings or fan engagement change, he believes sports analysts have a responsibility to discuss those trends openly rather than pretend everything is unchanged. The larger debate quickly expanded beyond television numbers. Fans began pointing to falling resale ticket prices for several playoff games, with seats in some markets becoming available for surprisingly low prices. Many interpreted this as evidence that demand wasn't matching the excitement generated during the regular season when Caitlin Clark was playing. Supporters of Clark argued that her influence on ticket sales, television audiences, and overall attention had become impossible to ignore. Critics, meanwhile, pushed back, saying the WNBA's future shouldn't depend on one player, regardless of how talented or popular she may be. Sue Bird has long been one of the strongest advocates for growing women's basketball. Because of that, her comments drew even more attention. While Bird has previously praised Clark's remarkable talent and the excitement she brings, she has also emphasized that the league's success should ultimately be built on the collective strength of its players rather than a single superstar. That perspective, however, collided with the opinions of commentators like Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe. Both repeatedly acknowledged Clark as a major reason for the dramatic increase in interest surrounding women's basketball, arguing that her arrival introduced millions of new viewers to the sport. Regardless of which side people support, one fact remains difficult to dismiss. Caitlin Clark generated extraordinary attention throughout her college career and carried that momentum into professional game. When she wasn't on the court, many fans naturally wondered whether the same level of excitement could continue. The WNBA responded by continuing to promote its biggest playoff matchups, while several teams adjusted ticket pricing to maximize attendance. Although many arenas still reported strong crowds, the conversation surrounding fan demand and television audiences remained a major topic across sports media. As the debate intensified, Clark largely stayed out of the controversy. Instead of responding publicly to every headline or criticism, she continued focusing on basketball. Her performances, popularity, and ability to attract casual sports fans have made her one of the most talked about athletes in America. Even analysts who disagree about the league's direction generally acknowledge one point. Caitlin Clark has had a significant impact on women's basketball. The real disagreement isn't whether she matters. It's how much of the league's future should depend on a single superstar. That debate isn't likely to end anytime soon, but it has certainly become one of the defining storylines surrounding today's WNBA. For the WNBA to achieve lasting success, it ultimately has to prove that the league can continue growing for years to come. Not because of one superstar alone, but because of the overall product. Even so, many observers believe it's impossible to ignore the tremendous impact Caitlin Clark has had on bringing new audiences to women's basketball. That helps explain why voices like Sue Bird have emphasized that the league's future shouldn't be viewed through the lens of a single player. From her perspective, constantly framing every conversation around Clark risks overshadowing the accomplishments of everyone else in the league. Still, the debate becomes much more complicated when real-world numbers enter the conversation. The WNBA is competing in an incredibly crowded sports market, and maintaining fan attention is never easy. During the playoffs, many fans noticed ticket prices falling in several markets, leading to renewed discussion about whether demand had softened after Clark's season came to an end. While lower prices helped attract more spectators, critics argue that pricing adjustments alone cannot replace the excitement created by a breakout superstar. Commentators like Stephen A. Smith pointed to declining attendance and television audiences after Clark's elimination, arguing that her presence clearly influences fan interest. Whether people agree with his conclusions or not, few deny that Clark has become one of the league's biggest attractions. That creates one of the WNBA's biggest challenges moving forward. How do you keep casual fans engaged when the player who introduced millions of people to the sport isn't on the court? Building long-term loyalty requires developing more stars, creating compelling rivalries, and giving fans reasons to stay invested throughout the entire season. At the same time, some respected figures around women's basketball, including Sheryl Swoopes and Sue Bird, have questioned how much of the spotlight should be placed on one athlete. Their argument isn't necessarily that Clark isn't talented. It's that the league's success should reflect the contributions of many players, not just one headline name. Supporters of Clark see the situation differently. They believe her popularity has benefited everyone by increasing television exposure, boosting media coverage, and attracting fans who had never watched WNBA basketball before. From that perspective, celebrating Clark's impact doesn't diminish anyone else's accomplishments. It simply recognizes extraordinary attention she has generated. Several current and former players have also spoken highly of Clark's ability. They point out that the expectations placed on her from day one have been enormous. Scoring 20 points in a professional debut while being criticized for every mistake highlights just how much pressure she's carried. Some have even compared that level of scrutiny to what NBA superstars face when entering the league. Every game Clark plays becomes a national storyline. Every turnover, every three-pointer, and every big performance is dissected across television and social media. That level of attention is something very few athletes experience, regardless of the sport. As time goes on, the conversation surrounding Caitlin Clark's impact will likely continue. What isn't disputed is that she has brought unprecedented attention to women's basketball and introduced the WNBA to a much wider audience. The league's next challenge is turning that surge of interest into lasting growth. If more stars emerge alongside Clark, the WNBA could be positioned for one of the strongest eras in its history. Now it's your turn. Do you think Caitlin Clark has changed the future of the WNBA? Or can the league continue growing at the same pace without her? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest updates. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.